What's an unwritten rule about the road that new drivers should know? Try to give other drivers as much information as possible. Always use your turn signals, even in a turn lane. People have no way of knowing if you're actually about to turn or not. Don't cut corners. I've nearly had head-on collisions because people can't just slow down a little and turn into the lane properly. Keep your cool. Road rage kills. If someone flashes their lights at you, they're not just a dick, they're trying to communicate something. I drove past someone who flashed their lights at me, slowed down a little because I was confused, and just around the turn was a fucking fallen boulder in the road. I probably wouldn't have stopped in time if I hadn't already been slowing down thanks to the guy who flashed his lights at me. Speed up to match the speed before you try and merge onto a highway. Put your blinker on before you start to brake. Nothing drives me nuts like people who come to a full stop on a one-lane road, and then put the blinker on while we wait for passing traffic. Always leave yourself a way out. Merging onto a highway/interstate should be a very active process. Try to match the speed of traffic and fit into an open slot. Don't slow down to a crawl and wait for a wide berth. Always know what's around you. Know what cars are behind you or in the lane next to you. That way, if you feel you have to change lanes quickly, you know whether you can or can't. Green means legal, not safe. Assume everyone is a moron trying to crash into you. Don't be nice, be predictable. What this means is, don't slam on your brakes to let someone else go, drive predictably. Assume everyone else is an idiot. Don't trust a turn signal. For the love of God, turn off your brights when you're behind someone else. Be predictable. Assume everyone else is unpredictable. Drive defensively. Going into a ditch, at an angle so you don't plow head-on into dirt or rocks, or going off the road is generally preferable to a head-on collision at high speed. At all costs avoid a head-on with a large vehicle like a dump truck or transport truck. It's almost certainly going to be fatal for you. Anti-lock brakes, large modern vehicles and snow tires and four-wheel drive are safety features to help you. It does not mean you can drive in all weather conditions without driving for the conditions. I have known people who had very expensive SUVs who are also very dead because they drove fast in bad weather. Above all else, don't drive under the influence. You may not just kill yourself, you may end up killing others. Wear a seatbelt. Treat driving as a privilege, not a right. Americans who are against the Biden student loan forgiveness, why? I don't disagree with it per se, but without setting up systems to keep school costs in check, we will get this crisis to reoccur every few years as college costs keep skyrocketing. Before federal student loans were guaranteed, college was nowhere near this expensive. Loan forgiveness doesn't make sense unless you also stop giving out the loans. Universities were able to increase their tuition so much because everyone was getting guaranteed student loans. And now you're putting down precedent that the loans can be forgiven. Does that sound wise to you? I'm against it as a solution, because schools will still charge $100K/year and lenders will still keep making ridiculous loans. Removed. If the actual student loan program were re-evaluated, loan forgiveness wouldn't be an issue. I think cutting the interest to 1% makes more sense. I only disagree with it because it doesn't address the fundamental problem with these loans, which is the predatory interest rates that make them damn near impossible to pay off. The government should be regulating those rates so students aren't being gouged and can actually pay the loans off with reasonable interest. Edit. Just want to clarify, I'm pro-loan relief, I just wish more was being done to address the core issue with these loans. But I would rather the government do something instead of continuing to do nothing. 1. It doesn't fix the problem, which is the absurd cost. Forgiving debt probably makes it much worse as future students are going to think they too will eventually get their loans forgiven, making them willing to borrow/spend even more. 2. The largest benefits go to people solidly in or on their way to being among the higher earners in our country. 3. It will exacerbate resentment of the less well-educated, who already feel they get a raw deal, further polarizing our society. I think these issues could be addressed with more thoughtful programs. ID forgive interest only, and make future loans interest-free. But ID also cap costs at the institution level, not just borrowing limits or costs paid by students, but an all-in cap that includes all tax dollars and tuition, and ID place some default risk back on the institutions. ID make tuition and student loan payments tax deductible and require institutions to use their endowments to reduce costs further. ID expand the entire program to vocational education. Removed. Wasn't this asked like 2 days ago? 1. It doesn't solve the core problems with the education system being overly expensive for what it provides. 2. The burden of paying just gets passed on to the taxpayer, which is the middle class, because the rich can just use their money to avoid paying much of their taxes. Make the banks pay for charging excess interest or the schools pay for giving out BS degrees that no one will hire. 3. It is inflationary in nature. Think of what you'll do when your loan is forgiven with the new money. Now multiple it by the millions more who will be doing that same thing. You really think you'll be able to get that new car or down payment on a house when every other person with their newly forgiven loans are doing the same thing? 4. It is unfair for the people who paid their own way through school or already paid their loans. I'm not going to get a refund for working part-time through school to pay for my education when I could have partied instead. Yet, the inflation and taxes will affect me. Ultimately, I think it's just a bad policy. It preys on voters thinking that this will just solve all of their problems when it really won't. Ever sent a nude to the wrong person? What happened? How did they respond? Sent a dick pic to my family WhatsApp group instead of my girlfriend who requested it. I got a lot of laughs from my sisters, a well done from my father, and not a single word from my mother, who to this day denies it happened. It was a horrible experience. Not a nude, but I accidentally sexted my boss thinking I was talking to my husband. He sent back, "I don't think this was meant for me." I sent him the biggest apology ever and we never spoke about it ever. I was meaning to text my boyfriend the picture, but must have still been in the I'm Sage chat to my dad at the time, and sent it without checking. Seeing that the nude had been texted to my dad, I immediately called him. I was going to ask him to delete the pictures, and that they were inappropriate and were supposed to go to my boyfriend. That way he wouldn't see the images themselves, he would just know I had taken nudes. Somehow, by the grace of God, my sister answered his phone, as she was living at home at the time. I begged her for help, and she was able to delete the images off his phone. My dad never knew the incident ever occurred. I asked my sister how I could repay her, and she asked me to never ever bring it up again. I owe her one, eternally. Sent to the wrong person? No. Posted to my Facebook feed? Yes. Few family members unfriended me, got a few DMs asking did I realize what I did, 2 DMs asking if I had more, not family, before you ask. I was 26 at the time. Just shaved my junk. It was looking mighty presentable, so I decided the GF needed to see. I mistakenly sent it to my older brother. He replied with, "I don't think that was meant for me." I died a little inside. It was never spoken of again. I did once some years back. Sent a snap to coworker. I had absolutely no idea until I got a snap from her telling me I looked nice and asked if she was supposed to return the favor. Told her it was completely up to her, but it was an accident. She sent me one back anyways. We left it at that, and we would bring it up every once in a while and just giggle about it. Haven't seen her since I left that job, but this question definitely brought this memory back, lol. Edit, I made this comment, went to bed, and didn't think about it this morning until I opened Reddit not long ago. I was reading the comments and y'all were making me laugh. It's so weird to have the most upvoted comment be me about sending a nude to a coworker, lol. I accidentally sent one to my best friend. I tapped the wrong contact, and she replied. / I had 2 name redacted s in my phone, didn't have last names added. One was a love interest, the other was a good friend. Was a bit tipsy and just kind of clicked and went for it, picked the wrong one. Got some fantastic feedback, but they have never let me live it down to this day. It's been 2 years. So a friend of mine, female, accidentally sent one to her dad. He then responded with something like, "I know that I have a beautiful daughter, but you should not send me nudes." Very embarrassing for her, but a wholesome response from the father. Not me, but my wife. She has sent a very explicit nude of hers to her mother instead of me. End result, Masala, "You're beautiful," as response from my mother-in-law, then similar responses from her sisters and sisters-in-law because yet, her mother forwarded it. My bestie is a chick. She was dating a guy who had the same name as me. She came home blind drunk one night while her partner was intestate with work, and sent me the nude that was meant for him. We are pretty tight, and before I could reply with nice, she messaged me via text saying, "Fuck, sorry man, but if it's anyone seeing me without my gear on, I'm glad it's you." I was touched that she was so cool with it, so I wrote back, "Nice tits mate, we still laugh about it today." My high school boyfriend's best friend sent me a dick pic. He was a great guy, so I was horrified and I just sent back WTF. He apologized profusely and said another girl whose name started with my same letter was supposed to get it, but he hid my contact instead. I didn't tell my BF for ages because I was so weirded out, and when I finally did he was like, "Yeah, I know." My friend told me immediately after it happened, "I was just waiting to see how long it took you to tell me." So, kind of funny? A couple of years ago my actual girlfriend was on vacation with her family and sent a picture of her naked to my sister, instead of me, by mistake. I remember I was at a friend's party and suddenly receive a text from my sister saying she had finally gathered the courage to tell me she was sorry for secretly having sex with my GF for a while and that she had taken a picture for proof, attaching it to the message. I was slightly stoned but enough to believe to everything, for hours, until I realized the picture was a selfie taken in front of a mirror. Yes. It was so embarrassing I wanted to throw up. He was a good friend but we're both married. He was classy about it, thankfully, lol. Happened with one of my exes. She got a new phone and was updating her contacts. She chose my dick pic as her temporary profile pic for when I called. I was at work while she was getting her gallbladder taken out. Started to worry because she should have been in post-op and almost discharged by then. So I kept calling and it would ring twice, then straight to voicemail. Redial. Ring once, straight to voicemail. Redial 2 more times, straight to voicemail. Turns out her mom had her belongings and my angry boner kept saying hello, up close and personal, over and over. Family dinners were awkward for a while after that.